Ma'am, this 75 years of Supreme Court already,
Yeah.
just 11 judges, 11 women judges so far. Why, what do you think is the basic problem? Where is the problem?
I would say, Kanu, that for picking up a judge, a woman judge, there has to be a pool of women, a big enough pool to find the right persons and to select them for being recommended by the collegium. In our days, there were lesser women. So lesser the women, smaller the pool. It's proportionate. But the moment the pool expands, there'll be more choices, more women to pick up from. How many पहले कहते थे कि women lawyers ही बन जाएं तो बहुत भारी बात है. उसके बाद women senior advocates बनने लगी. और कितनी बनी? और बहुत बनी. कई कोर्ट्स में तो बहुत बनी. हमारी दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट में बहुत बनी. अब तेलंगाना में भी women senior advocates हैं. हर leading state high court में है. So what is happening is, if that pool expands, automatically the choices increase. So it's proportionate to the number of women who enter the stream, who continue in their career, make a mark for themselves, and are visible to the collegium for being picked up.
But what is it? What are the kind of challenges that a woman in the legal profession has to face?
And you being the first generation lawyer in your family.
Yes, several challenges. Challenges start at the grassroots level, starting with firstly finding a placement for yourself in the legal profession. A litigation lawyer can't work suddenly out of the blues without some kind of matters. For those matters, you have a learning experience. Who on the street will walk up to you and give you a brief without knowing you? So you have to make a mark for yourself some way. How do you make a mark? You have to join somebody to learn. Those learning experiences come from chambers of seniors. You have to be able to find somebody appropriate, willing to take you on a raw hand. I mean, frankly, what would a raw hand do except learn? You're not being very useful to your senior initially till you are able to make that place for yourself. So first challenge is to find a good office, a senior who's willing to take you on, who's willing to teach you. And then comes the next challenge of being able to find briefs on your own when you move out of a senior's chamber and that comfort level, to be able to sustain you in the profession. And I don't just mean financially. Sustain you as you should be visible. So what was ordinarily a person to look for panels of public sector undertakings, of authorities, of departments where there is more work and a greater learning experience. You do that even when you join a senior who has more work, a larger volume of work where one would get an entry at some point or the other. A small entry which you would probably value and be able to make a mark for yourself. That's where the journey starts. So that challenge is the first challenge a woman faces. The second is that you can't make a name for yourself unless you get a matter sufficiently important for you to be noticed. For that also the waiting is long. The gestation period as it is in the legal profession is long. For a woman it is longer. In that journey she also has to break it many times because she gets married. She has to break it because she has to procreate. She has to find the time then not only with her profession, but her family, her children, her in-laws, her husband, all of that. So when it is 7 years ordinarily on getting married, many times they have to take a break from their careers and go back. So it's a setback. Their contemporary batchmates would have moved on. Their journey starts from, again, the basic and go back again, pick up the threads. It's not easy.
And there are additional challenges, especially for women, like we are seeing in the aftermath of what happened in the Kolkata case.
Right.
Where the doctors have now come out on the streets demanding better conditions, better working conditions.
Yes.
So equally, there are challenges such as that for women in the legal space also.
Right.
So my question to you would be that everything that the courts have done, whether it be Vishaka guidelines, whatever the legislature has done, whether it be implementation of the POSH Act, do you think those have sufficiently tackled the challenges that women face? And B, if they've not, then what has been the fallout of these decisions on women in the law industry?
So, we all talk of Vishaka because that was a landmark judgment. There was no statute at that point in time. Incidentally, POSH has completed 10 years in the year 2023 as an act. Unfortunately, not many of the persons who should know about it, including the victim, the aggressor, and most of all, the employer, they don't know as much as they ought to know about it. So what is the consequence? The consequence is anybody who's a victim, and I'm now talking of within the legal profession, Firstly, they don't know where to go. Secondly, we need as an institution to make ourselves more visible, that there are internal committees, that there are gender sensitization committees, that there should be workshops where they should come forth and know how to handle themselves. It's a matter of chance that I was heading the internal complaints committee in the High Court, as also the gender sensitization committee of Supreme Court. In the Supreme Court, there were a lot of workshops organized with the idea of letting women, not just women, know, letting every sphere, every department know. What would that be? That could be the contractual workers who come to the courts in and out. They could be regular employees. There would be lawyers. There would be the security staff. Each one has an interface with a woman at some stage or the other. After all, when we have security and the women walk in, breeze in through the entrance. And they do have those cards for their identity. But there is still an entrance that they have to go through. Men should know how to handle their pat down. There should be women security officers posted there. There are niches and corners we found which were so dark in the evening that women would be reluctant to cross over from that to over the road to go to the parking. Now, these are things one has to be very hands-on to discover. So it's important for women to be conscious of the fact that there is a forum where they can go. And for women lawyers, that forum is the Bar Council. It is not the Supreme Court or the High Court designated committee. Some of them don't even know that. That is something which we need to disseminate. One of the fallouts of the POSH Act in the negative sense, if you will call it negative, is that when women have come out and loud and clear and stopped brushing things under the carpet when they face sexual harassment, some of these seniors and some of the advocates and chambers have created an unwritten rule that they'd rather not get into a mess and they'd rather not take a woman in turn. That has been a negative impact in that sense, because it's a setback for those young women who would like to be in particular chambers. They aspire to work there, but there is that reluctance or resistance, maybe in some places, because of this.
Are they scared to hire women?
They're wary, shall I say, not scared. They'll be wary. Well, as you know that there is misuse of any enactment. There has been misuse of the Dowry Act. There has been a misuse of several statutes which have been highlighted in different studies and researches. POSH is still a 10-year-old act. It's not all that old. It's not been used as much as perhaps it ought to. But there are always that some little element who misuses it. And the net effect is the disability that the entire community faces.
Right.
That is what happens also.
But POSH is still not applicable in the Indian Army. They have their own things, and the harassment complaints that we are seeing from inside Army. Do you think that time has come that Indian Army should also adopt?
Perhaps the seniors there need to internalize it, because their systems are very much in place. They have a pretty regimented system. Even otherwise on the criminal side also, it's a summary court martial. Their systems are different. Their requirements are different. In a POSH Act, if there's a complaint, then the parties have to keep coming in and giving their affidavits, and there is a whole process. When it is the army, then most of them keep moving from place to place. And the transfers are so often that any inquiry would not be completed unless they're called back to the place where the origin took place. Maybe for that is one of the reasons why they want a quicker closure to such a matter and a more summary procedure vis-a-vis a regular POSH complaint.